Alaska, a land of wild beauty, rugged magic, and buried secrets. Throughout its marbled history, strange reports have been drifting from Alaska's cold and cryptic embrace. Tales of sky giants, crafts that slip from serene seas and into the Arctic atmosphere above. They creep behind volcanic islands, which jut skyward from their chilly seat in the Alaskan bays and kodiak coves. What do these sky lurkers want? What are they hunting? And are they living right beneath us? From flying saucers that rip whales from the sea, to reports of a secret underground black pyramid wedged in the ice and crackling with unknown energy. Join us on this episode of BELIEFHOLE as we correlate native lore, historical accounts, and whistleblower testimony to thaw the mystery and illuminate the hidden world of dark Alaska.
Conspiracy,
synchronicity,
Sasquatch,
homunculus,
alien races,
Satanism in Hollywood,
MK Ultra,
Tartaria.
There's like a whole. I've been watching this one guy.
Close the door, Ed.
Jeremy,
Close your door.
What's the
Inner Earth Disagreements.
Ghost Dad?
I like that movie.
Dogman,
Bohemian Grove,
Feldman.
magicians are demons,
Specters and
spirit
spooks.
summonings,
Sleep
paralysis,
strange disappearances,
Sky whale phenomenon.
alternative history, shadow people.
Shh, quiet. I'm trying to say words with my mouth.
It's getting dicey out there. Poltergeists.
That's cool.
Anunnaki. What is the moon? Elf towers.
I would never talk about it. That's old.
Y2K.
cover-ups,
Apocalyptic catastrophe. Vampire.
Well, hello.
Hey guys. Hi there. Hello. I'm losing my voice.
Welcome to Be Here.
I'm Chris.
I'm John.
And I'm Jeremy. And today we have a very special episode. Aren't they always special?
You do say that a lot.
But they're always special for different reasons. In this one, guys, a lot of people have been asking, what's going on in Alaska? What has been going on in Alaska? That is a great question. I apologize for my voice. I've been up all night researching the episode last couple days.
This is true.
Last night was a bit of a challenge, but I'm bringing the game. And this episode was inspired. Special shout out. We've had several authors who listen to the show who've sent in great books. And I'm actually going to pop up a list at the end of the episode and advertise some of those. But the one I grabbed for today hit me like a brick. Is that what they say? In the middle of the night, I was
ton of bricks.
trying to think a couple of nights ago of what we're going to be able to work on for this episode. And people have been asking in the YouTube premieres about the Arctic and Alaskan mysteries. And this book just had me sitting on my coffee table. This book is called Saucers of the North, A History of UFOs in Alaskan Airspace. And this is by a listener of the show, actually, Jesse Desmond, who put this tome of accounts together from Alaska, from the Great North.
Compendium of crazy encounters.
Really a compendium. We'll have this linked in the show notes, guys. Check it out, support her. If you're someone who loves just be able to reach for something with, like if you're a researcher that loves to just have on hand, paper-bound anecdotes and stories from a specific region and kind of theory or experiences, this is a great book to have.
Yeah, great to flick through and find some really interesting corroborative accounts.
And as I was looking through her book, I came across one section that really kind of stuck out to me.
this was weird.
We just did, if you guys remember, The Collectors, which
Yeah.
was a kind of a deep dive on the phenomena of these weird things coming down from the sky, snorkeling up people, animals.
Yeah.
Specifically
Elk in the last edition.
elk. There were these elk eaters, these elk addicts, we called them, these things that would come down in crafts, abduct people, abduct animals. It's very strange. We hear in the media today and we see these reports of the cube within the sphere and these things that have come out in Congress and stuff, the conversations that are being had. But some of what's kind of being missed, I think, is more of the abduction scenario or more of the, what else are they doing that seems more organic or third kind encounters? Or fourth kind. The movie that coincidentally takes place in Nome, Alaska,
Oh, yeah.
where I almost got into that for this episode because that is a mystery into itself, the disappearances there, alleged abductions. But Alaska is a strange place. So let me just get right into this.
Beautiful place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous, majestic.
Magical.
Oh, yeah. I really wanted to name this episode Oh, you changed the title that I had in here. Wild Alaskan Skies. Because we're talking about UFOs, and that's a great John Denver song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're actually thinking of wild Montana skies, but you're close, Chris. John Denver did have a song about Alaska.
God rest his soul.
Yeah, rest in peace. Born in Roswell, New Mexico.
That's right.
Thank God I'm a country boy.
Dusseldorf was his real last name.
What?
Yeah. We
Get
had this
out of town.
conversation on the show
Never
before.
heard it.
What's his first name?
I'll react every time someone tells me. It doesn't matter how many times someone tells me.
What is his first name? It's not John.
It's Henry John Dusseldorf Jr.
Oh, I thought it was Stephen Dusseldorf.
Henry.
Okay. Henry
Isn't
Dusseldorf.
that's an actor.
Steven Dusseldorf? No, you're thinking of Baywatch guy.
No.
Hasselhoff?
Oh, Stephen
Dorff.
Stephen Dorff.
Deacon Frost.
Anyway, sorry, we're getting off track here.
Sorry, we tend to do that occasionally.
John Denver.
But he was born in Roswell, New Mexico. And wasn't it 47?
After the crash. So our
Our theory was that he didn't die in the plane crash. He just went back to wherever he came from because he was a beautiful alien hybrid man.
he was in the saucer that arrived as a young childling.
43. He was born in 43, so he was there to prepare the way. Anyway, so to get right into these accounts here and launching off from Jesse Desmond's great tome index of corroborative accounts, I also want to point out that this is great too because the way she does this is decade by decade. As you go through, she'll explain what's happening. Here are cases chock full of images. It goes chronologically through the centuries, starting at the 1700s. So what's really cool is she gives you kind of a history of what's going on in Alaska at the time. We're focusing primarily in the 70s and 80s after kind of like the oil boom.
What was the book called one more time?
It's called Saucers of the North. A history of UFOs in Alaskan airspace.
And it is truly that. It is a very deep history.
A mysterious events for a mysterious place.
Also, we're going to be not only covering these accounts, but touching on where they might be coming from. We're a little more digging into that.
So let me set that up here. So, Alaska, mysterious place, similar to Antarctica, right? With their desolate tundras,
The poles.
wind blowing. Yes, there are poles there as well.
Pole-ish.
One has an ice wall. But it's a great place to hide, right?
What?
To hide
Oh, because it's a rugged landscape. It's
Hide from who?
from humanity. If you
Oh,
are,
okay.
if you are not, or if you are maybe an ancient civilization underground,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
so-
thought you were like a citizen hiding from someone.
it would be, you probably wouldn't last very long if you're out alone.
I see what you're saying.
Specifically the tundras, but
Yeah, anywhere in the like deep wilderness.
yeah. But in Alaska, if you are, let's say, as I was mentioning earlier, reference back to the collectors, these things that are collecting people, life forms, in strange, kind of unique ways, has there been evidence of this in Alaska? And I was drawn to this kind of section in the book about that. Some of these cases made me think, yeah, Antarctica, Alaska. Alaska with its desolate tundras, great place to hide or navigate and not be seen.
Yeah.
If you're trying to avoid detection, a great place to hunt, whether human or non-human potentially.
That's an interesting point right there. Hunting.
Have people seen or witnessed accounts of these things hunting? Much like USOs in the ocean, or the Earth is what, 70% water-ish? Think about that opportunity for USOs. Another great place for things to exist here secretly is underwater. You have desolate, uncharted, or at least unoccupied areas
Unexplored.
that are perfect situations for this. And Alaska is one of them, along with the ocean, of course. But it being on the water, you have this crossover with USOs too that we'll get into a little bit here. In fact, many of these USOs are seen coming in and out of the sea off the coasts of Alaska or behind and into the mountains of Arctic islands.
Right.
Where are they going?
You often see this not just in the Arctic, but the exiting and entering of mountain islands is a not too uncommon occurrence with USOs.
Oh, yeah, especially in the tropics.
Yeah, even in the UK. I forget the name of the island. Isle of Man?
Yeah. And I want to mention, because this comes up in the second half of this episode, guys, there's a topic that I've been dying to get into, wanted to for so long, by one of my favorite researchers that I admire, Linda Moulton Howe, who's been doing research into high strangeness forever. And we're going to get into the legend of the Black Pyramid.
Ah, yes.
Submerged beneath the ice of the Arctic, beneath the tundra there.
Yes, I've heard rumblings of this. Is there truth to this? Is there
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating account. We're going to go through some of her. I've got some clips, actually. I'm going to point you guys to her work and her full interview, but we've got clips that she has recorded, interviews with people who have information about the pyramid from special access through their family.
Oh,
Fathers that have worked in the pyramid, that kind of thing.
interesting.
It's going to be a fascinating part of the episode. So that's after the break, guys. Let's jump into Alaska. let's get on the bush plane and fly and find our way. So to set the tone for this episode, just what is out there, hovering, lurking above the tundra, collecting, hunting, and generally freaking people out? Well, this kind of sets the tone. This comes from Jessie Desmond's book. I think she may have got it from New Fork, which she did a great job collecting and corroborating stories using New Fork Alaskan accounts. And I think she also works with MUFON.
Yeah.
But I call this story Valley Searcher. And this takes place in Prospect Creek, Alaska, 1976.
A truck driver and his coworker had a sighting on January 11th, 1976, while working along the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. They were working near Prospect Creek and were on a break. They were just north of the Prospect Creek work crew, where 40 men were putting in supports for the pipeline being constructed. The truck driver's coworker pointed out a light in the far distance, which they guessed was about 40 miles away. They watched as it came down along a mountain and across the tundra in their general direction. The moon was out, and the craft became larger than the moon. It moved along the tundra as if searching for something and made 3 passes near them. Finally, the truck driver decided to turn on his truck's spotlight to get a better view. Instead of scaring the object off, it came closer, hovering about a quarter mile from the men and their truck. At this point, it was about 3 times the size of the moon. The 2 men hopped in their truck and sped off down the haul road. The object, however, stayed with the men as they traveled 2 miles south toward the Prospect Creek crew. Once they got to camp, they ran inside and didn't step out until morning. Over breakfast the next day, the 2 men shared their sighting and found that others at the camp had seen the same thing. Several crew members who saw the object were later interviewed by people from Ilsen Air Force Base.
Okay, so I'm getting unsettling reflections, echoes of the Collectors episode we did.
The scanning, the hunting, the searching.
The sky scanners. What are they looking for out there?
Yeah.
You'll find out through stories coming up. It's nothing good.
A terrifying place to be in that situation. Just you're so vulnerable in that cold, that frigid air, the darkness, the quiet.
And something approaches you 3 times the size of the moon. Is that what they said?
It grew to be that large, obviously visually in relation to the moon in the background, but
Was it silent?
I don't know.
A lot of these accounts have overlapping attributes. Most craft are silent or emit a low hum.
Yeah. Just that visual of they turn the lights on to get a better look at the craft, and then it comes towards
It's
them.
like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
So something conscious,
Right.
something intelligently controlled or intelligent itself.
Looking for a snorkel.
Yeah, what in the natural biome there in the tundra? I don't know if all of Alaska is tundra or in the valleys other than the city. Is it all tundra besides the cities? I guess maybe depending on the season. I should look that up. Maybe I'll drop it in. Robot lady?
Alaska is not entirely a tundra biome, even though a significant portion of it is characterized by tundra. The state has a variety of biomes, including tundra, boreal forests, taiga, and temperate rainforests. The cities and populated areas in Alaska, like Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau, are mainly located in regions dominated by boreal forests. These areas experience a subarctic climate, which is distinct from the cold, dry, and treeless tundra climate found primarily in the northern and western parts of the state, particularly on the coastal plains.
We should really ask Freaky Deaky podcast since they're up in Wasilla.
Oh, yeah.
We need to visit those guys. Anyway, what in this natural biome might be snorkeled up, consumed or collected by these things? Or maybe in this case, it was just someone searching or looking for something, or maybe it was connected to the Dark Pyramid. The Dark Pyramid allegedly is supposed to be somewhere 60 miles west or southwest-ish from Mount McKinley, which is now Mount Denali, which is the Koyukon word, which is a native Alaskan people. It's their word meaning the high one or the great one.
Ooh.
Which makes sense because it's the highest peak in North America.
And we're going to get to that later, right? Because I want to hear about these origins of this dark. Because I've heard...
My point was that some of this activity could be connected to that because there's a secrecy behind that. There's a reason that this would be kept secret. There's evidence that it is being kept secret. So are some of these sightings not necessarily an unknown, but maybe military.
Oh, yeah.
Black project that are keeping a lid on it. If it is military or something, what they're about to do next is pretty damn dark. The next part of the...
Is this the one?
Yeah, this is the one, John. So I stumbled across...
This is the one.
This is the one. I stumbled across this fascinating story in her book, and she did a fantastic job kind of summarizing the story for the book as a part of her collaborative accounts. And I was so compelled by what she described in this account that I wanted to find the original article. And kind of hilariously, I went online looking for the original publication, and I could not find it anywhere, even for sale. So I dug, and I finally found it on a website many of you will probably be familiar with, Above Top Secret. And so I'm reading the article, and someone actually posted all the images of the original article that we'll have in the show notes for you guys so you can read the entire original article here. But I was like, who is this person that posted this? It did such a credit for people hungry for this research. And of course, looking at the name of the person who submitted it on Above Top Secret on the forum was Jay Desmond.
Oh, that's awesome.
Who happens to be the author of this book. So kudos to you, Jesse, for putting it out there so we could include it in this episode. That is awesome. We always appreciate original sources. Okay, so let's get into this ridiculously fascinating account.
It's definitely a unique account.
But again, echoes of the collectors in a very unique, some striking details in this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to read a quote from her book, I'll Have You Read, Chris, which kind of sets up this kind of dark collector story, which I call Crop Circle of Carnage. And this will come from her book. And then we'll follow up with John reading the original article from UFO Magazine issue number 4, 1978. John's going to read the actual quotes from the people involved who were interviewed by John Love in that original 1978 article. So, yeah, let's set this up. This is the setup from Jesse Desmond.
In the December 1978 issue of Ideals UFO magazine, author John Love ventured up to Alaska after hearing an incredibly bizarre encounter at the New York City UFO conference in 1977. He was there to find some sort of strange story to write about, and instead wound up with a bizarre series of sightings that included multiple animal mutilations. Mr. Love met a National Park Service ranger named Philip Machling while aboard a ferry, the MV Manituska, along the Inside Passage. Mr. Machling told him about local myths and about the area in general before divulging a story about a UFO sighting that he had in May 1977, just the year before. He was camped out on the top deck in a sleeping bag, watching the stars in the sky.
Oh yeah, and briefly, she notes in her book here, she says that the top deck, quote unquote, that's mentioned here it's an open deck, meaning that it's open to the elements.
Right.
On this ship anyway.
It's a ferry.
It's still in the service today, by the way, this ferry.
Okay, so our author of this article, not our author of the book, but the original 1970s article, he's talking to Machling about his experience. And this is what Machling has to say. And this comes from the original article from 1978.
One night last May, I was standing on the top deck checking out the constellations. The sky is incredibly bright here, full of stars. There's no glow from big cities to interfere. Suddenly, I saw several orange flashes streak across the sky, about 3 o'clock high. Then, nothing. I went and got my sleeping bag and camped out on the top deck. I figured I had seen some meteor showers, the aurora borealis or something, but I wanted to be sure. Then, about an hour later, they came back. 10 or 15 glowing circular aircraft lifting out of the forest on shore. I got a clear look at them this time. The glow changed from dull to bright orange as they moved. Kind of the glow you get from a digital clock in the dark. There was a kind of belt around the middle of each saucer, an empty blank space. Maybe that's where the power came from. They lofted up out of the forest and then took off in formation, heading north. Funny thing was, they made only a slight noise, a vague hum in the air, but no rocket noise, and they were huge, big enough to require a lot of thrust. I kept quiet about the sighting because I wanted to keep my job and because I wanted to see them again, 2 weeks later, on the ferry trip to Sitka to Juneau, I was again keeping an all-night lookout on the top deck when I saw them a second time. 2 orange UFOs suddenly zoomed up over the trees and over the water next to the ship. They started skimming the water the way seagulls do when they're looking for fish, and got very close. The bottom half of the ship was almost translucent, glowing, and lighting up the water under it. The top half was covered with thousands of tiny circles, like sensors or solar cells or something. They seemed powered by some kind of magnetism. They had much more control, speed, and maneuverability than any jet-engined powered craft. They circled and swooped for a full minute. Then the water seemed to open up, and a young killer whale was sucked up into the underside of one of the saucers. Then they rose a little and zoomed silently back over the trees, hovered, and disappeared into the forest.
Man, that's crazy.
It'd be terrifying to see.
Yeah. Especially, obviously, the whale. That would just be mind-blowing.
Just in the distance.
Can you imagine? Whales are so, even if it's a young killer whale, like something that has that kind of power to just sit above the water.
Yeah.
It could easily take anything it wanted.
Let alone, like, find it in the water.
Oh, that's another fascinating too, how it opened up the water and then was like, well, we'll be taking you now.
Yeah, poor whale.
Yeah.
So that was the ferry captain who saw that?
No, he was a
Mutschler?
no, he's a park ranger.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
He was taking the ferry across.
Oh, right. Okay.
How would you, like, deal with life after that?
After seeing that, you're like, well, this world is way stranger. I know nothing.
How about that election?
When did, what year was Star Trek's, which one was that?
Oh, the whale one?
Where they abducted whales.
Yeah, they used them for good. I forget what they
needed them in the future or something?
Earth.
It's for a water park.
They were working for
SeaWorld was
SeaWorld.
failing.
Captain Kirk had a deal.
SeaWorld's failing in this dimension.
But I was asking that because I wonder if there's any inspiration
for
either way.
The Star Trek?
If you would make the argument that this is a fictitious story, or make the argument that Star Trek may have been inspired,
I mean,
or this was just going on.
This doesn't sound like
Gene Roddenberry was in the know.
This doesn't sound like the film. I mean,
No, it's definitely not the film. It just,
they took, and I think it was sperm whales or humpback whales, but they were going to
it's so
they were
different.
going to use them.
Spacecraft taking whales from the ocean. It's very different.
They were going to use them in the past, which was like our present, to do something with the oceans of the earth or something like that.
I think it's some sort of environmental balance, definitely environmental tone to the movie.
Anyway,
Anyway.
I think what this reminds me of is our Sky Creatures episode, the stories of these what at first appeared to be what you would think of as a flying saucer, some sort of extraterrestrial or interdimensional craft.
Yeah.
Then on closer inspection turned out to be more organic. They come down and are drinking from the water, bodies of water around the world that are maybe eating things within the water.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I mean, who knows if that's what this is, but it definitely has tones of
There's
that.
an organic feeling to this for sure. Whether the craft are organic or not, there's something obviously, well, we'll find out next. It does seem to get a little more disturbing, a little more sinister.
I was just going to say the illumination on the bottom of the craft just reminds me of, in our last expansion, we had the stories of the USOs in Puerto Rico and how they would light up the giant disc shape underwater, the same sort of thing where the whole side of the craft or entity or whatever illuminates like a bioluminescent
Now, that was a story we had,
glow.
right?
Yeah.
Now, John,
Mm-hmm.
you probably, I don't know if you've seen this. This just came out, a couple weeks ago, but Hidden Underbelly, who I think you actually showed me his channel a long time ago, does a great job of getting clips and stuff. Hidden Underbelly 2.0 or something. We'll drop this in, but it's basically a video that just came out of these scientists that were studying bioluminescent biology in the water. And they came across this, well, how big was it, Chris?
Which, the one that I brought?
No, the video that just came out. That bioluminescent
Oh,
glowing object under the water of the ocean. There were these scientists out on the water in a boat
oh yeah.
studying bioluminescence, and they came across this thing. It was actually sitting on the ocean floor.
Yeah.
Just sitting there
For hours.
for hours. And we watched it for like 5 hours until they had to leave because they were running out of fuel, and they left. But this thing,
Bioluminescent glow on. They were out there looking for bioluminescent life forms in the ocean.
wasn't it not on infrared, or there's something about it that,
Well, it didn't move. It arrived at this position and then didn't move for hours, just sitting down with this glowing giant disc.
So here's what I know about this footage. This was captured on February the 27th, 2024 by a group of scientists that was on a research vessel out studying bioluminescent sea life. And then they noticed this glow in the ocean. So they steered their vessel over to it where they was right above it. And the strangest thing about this is whatever it wasn't being picked up on radar. And they also quickly discovered that this object was on the sea floor. Here's where the story gets even more crazier. What you're looking at is satellite imagery of the object. Now the satellite captured this object in infrared. So this straight away blows out the theory that this could be a bioluminescent plankton, because you cannot see them in infrared.
That video is fascinating. I'll have to show it to you later. But.
Okay.
So anyways, this is where the question becomes, what are they doing with this? Were there more encounters? Did the baby killer whale have a good life? Did they put it back, or what happened to it? And there was another account that John Love came across through his interviews. This comes from Jesse Desmond's book.
This is a heartwarming story.
Yeah.
They camped on a ridge overlooking a vista of endless spruce forests, snow-capped peaks, and glacial rivers. One of the campers, Jack Friedman, a trained pilot who once taught night navigation in the Coast Guard, woke before dawn and walked to a nearby stream to wash up. He was stopped in his tracks by an unearthly sight. A squadron of circular aircraft, 15 or 20 of them, hovering perfectly over a clearing in the valley below. Quote,
I wasn't awake,
Friedman recalls.
but that woke me up.
I bet it would wake you up.
They must have been a half-mile away, down in the valley. I'd guess they were 20 or 30 feet in diameter. They were glowing a warm orange glow, translucent, like those glow necklaces they sell at rock concerts, except orange. They looked like two half-shells separated by a black band, an empty space that circled them in the middle. I stood with my mouth wide open, watching them hover like lit-up hummingbirds over a clearing. I swear I never believed in this UFO stuff, but my own eyes, I believe. And I believe my body, too. I was quivering all over. I felt like I had just stuck my finger in a socket. I was stunned, hypnotized, by the way a deer gets stunned in a car's headlights and can't move. I had heard a lot of, quote, sourdoughs, prospector hermits who had told stories about spaceships in the wilderness, but here I was seeing a whole group of them. By the time I got myself together to go back to the tents to wake my buddies, the craft were gone. Everybody thought I was crazy, hallucinating, and so did I, for a while. But the image was so definite, so eerie, I knew it wasn't a dream, but reality. Except it was a reality I wasn't used to seeing. I suggested we pack up our stuff and go check out that clearing down in the valley. It took us a couple hours to make it down. Then it was my buddies' turns to gawk. What we saw in that clearing, you will not believe. First, there was a huge circular imprint, a circle where the grass had been flattened, scorched, and swirled out clockwise from the center. There were 4 triangular prints near the circle's rim that went down 2 or 3 inches into the soil. Small trees and saplings had been broken and flattened. A feathery kind of white filament, sort of like spider webs, was on the leaves and grass on the edge of the circle. It was weird stuff. It seemed to disintegrate when you touched it. But the real sight was the bodies. Hundreds of mutilated animal carcasses. Moose with no legs, their antlers removed and piled separately. Elk with no internal organs at all. Caribou slumped on the ground like pop balloons, missing their skeletons. Grizzly bears, the biggest I've seen, with no eyes and claws. Some of the most beautiful animals in the wilds. They were heaped in piles. There were dark burn marks around the circle's edge, and some odd-shaped black rocks lying around. The weird thing was, there was no blood. The wounds were closed and clean, like some kind of new, bloodless surgery had been performed. The most astonishing thing we saw, standing among the piles of carcasses, was the body of a small killer whale, about 15 feet long, with the characteristic black and white markings. It had been completely gutted. We really freaked then. We were hundreds of miles from the Gulf of Alaska.
That is nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
I mean, if this account is true, I mean, it is kind of mind-blowing. Just the variety of wildlife that's, you hear cattle mutilations is pretty common.
Yeah.
Sheep,
Whales?
but just this collection of different species, it's like an animal zoo kind of thing. Species zoo, an ark.
Well, what are they using it for?
Well, at first I was going to say it's possible that there are hunters that have brought things that far inland. But this is in like a circle, a circular ring, right?
Here's a diagram that was included. This was a sketch drawn by, I think, Jack, at least one of the guys on the camping trip.
This is a totally separate event from the other Orca eyewitness account being taken.
Well, because this wasn't taken. This is found.
No, I know, but I mean, it was a different group at a different time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Different person interviewed by John Love. And he had collected a lot of great stories, it sounded like, from Alaska. And the original article is also written really beautifully. So I'll have that linked in the show notes as well, thanks to Jesse's acquiring that.
I just wonder, like, when they're doing whatever they're doing to these animals, I feel like they'd have to put them to sleep somehow.
Well, you'd hope so.
I just feel like...
Oh, you mean to just control the environment, the situation?
Yeah, I feel like they would be just reacting. It would be harder to do what they needed to do. That's the animal lover in me hoping that was the case.
I mean, it makes sense if you think about like the commonalities with abduction phenomena, and there's always a method of control. I don't know how much of it is like, are they aware of what's happening? Because you do hear kind of freaky abduction stories where you might be frozen, but you are aware of what's happening and it's horrifying. So hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, but usually they're not, like ripping your skeleton out of your body.
Oh, you mean that whole part? Yeah.
Yeah. Or like declawing you or tearing out your eyes.
There's some pretty intense stuff with like needles and eyeballs.
That's true.
In vitro stuff and,
Needles and all eyeballs is a great band name.
Needles, we always find
what's a band name in every episode. It's the Easter egg.
It's a great band name too. Who wouldn't want that?
Needles and eyeballs.
How about the band name? That's a great band name.
There you go.
Yeah, that's dumb.
No, that's great.
I retract it.
They're like, what's your band name? That's a great band name. Like, what is it though?
That's
a great band name.
Don't you get
Who's on first? What's on second?
That's an old joke.
Abbott and Costello.
All right, so guys, this will be in the show notes, and we're going to throw it up on the YouTube video if you're watching. This is a diagram from the original account, a sketch, because I guess they didn't have a camera. Did they mention a camera in the story? You asked that question earlier, John.
Yeah.
This...
Obviously they didn't.
Yeah. Again, 1978 hunting. Might not plan on having a camera for any particular purpose. So,
especially at nighttime.
Well, this is dawn.
Well, either way, low light.
Right.
1970s cameras for hunting. Yeah.
So basically what we're seeing here is a crop circle, essentially. Even though it's not a crop technically, but it's grass or wheat, or not wheat, grass or whatever was there in this low-lying area. You can see in the image, there's a whale carcass laid out a little further around this.
So I was going to say, kind of like the northwest edge of the circle. And then north on the circle, you have a grizzly cub carcass, right?
Yeah, grizzly cub. Keep going around the circle in a clockwise fashion. You have a grouping of bodies of elk and caribou. Then you come to the white filament, or the angel hair.
Ah, yes, the angel hair.
We've heard tell of.
Yeah.
In many accounts.
That's the strange, lacy, kind of melty
membrane
fibers that fall from the sky in a lot of UFO, well, not, I would say a lot of UFO cases, but very rare ones where you actually have physical evidence of contact.
We talked about sky creatures in our sky creatures episode. We talked about that because it has this biological element to it. Dissolves on touch. And you have the triangular impressions, which could be a landing or some kind of triangular force. And then you go further around to the grizzly bear carcass.
So there's two.
There's the grizzly bear and the grizzly bear cub that are on opposite sides of the circle. Grass flattened, scorched and swirled. And then back to the whale carcass all around. So this image will be in the show notes, but it is interesting. I mean, it's a pretty large circle if you consider, if it's to scale, that is, if that whale is 15 feet, I guess I would make that grizzly bear cub 7 feet. So maybe it's not to scale, but regardless, it's interesting to look at. So
go back up to it for a second. It's weird in my mind looking at that and looking at the layout of things. I can just picture like some craft creature, whatever, coming down, and it's like a dumping ground. Like it comes down and basically like flattens,
like bones in a dragon's lair.
Flattens grass, kind of scorches there, kind of like it is vomiting these things up from its hull or whatever. Carcasses, goes around the circle, grizzly bear, caribou, then like the, whatever, because you always hear this, the angel hair stuff on when it's about to leave or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like dropping that off as its engines or its energy or whatever start to take off again. That leaves that in that circle and then gone. It gets kind of going in a circle as it drops everything off.
Oh, that's interesting. That's why it's in a kind of a circular pattern, just like a flushing the toilet.
Yeah.
If you will.
Weird.
It's interesting because that my thought too is like, okay, what are these things? If this is from a civilization underground, for instance, we have native lore about that, about
If it's technology.
if something is controlling it, but it's from underground, something is manning this thing. Is it possible these things are coming up from underground and harvesting? And only harvesting specific things, like we need the organs from this, we need these kind of things. These things aren't available to us biologically underground. So we're going to collect these things and leave the things to biodegrade and deteriorate naturally on the surface while we go down and take specific organs or bones. Or, I don't know, just a random kind of thought.
That makes sense.
Interestingly, this is apparently, according to some sources, the first crop circle.
Really?
Yeah. Now, that's debatable. There were rumors of what were called saucer nests in Wiltshire in the 60s.
That's a good term. I like that.
But saucer nests. But
it's like a deer spigot.
Some sources I've found claim that this is the very first one that had any kind of serious description and an account along with it. So it kind of was at least one of the early ones that brought the whole phenomena to the forefront back in the day. Okay, well, let's hear how the story continues. What is the aftermath? What do they do in response to this incredible encounter?
They decided to gather a few bones and the odd-shaped black rocks before leaving the site. As quickly as they were able, it took a few days, the men were able to reach the Canadian border, where they made their first report. They were simply given some forms to fill out before a plainclothes man asked them to step into a small office to tell their UFO sighting. Despite the man taking a deep interest in their story and making an audio recording of it, he told the group that it was completely ridiculous and unreal. No one would ever believe them. When the group got to Anchorage from the Canadian border, Simhanja took the strange rocks to a research geologist at the Department of Natural Resources in Anchorage. The research geologist was baffled by the stones, which had symbolic markings on them. He offered no explanation for them. Hanja planned on taking the stones, 12 total, back to New York to be examined by people he knew at Columbia University and at the National Science Foundation. But when he arrived from New York, he found that someone had removed the stones from his luggage. As John Love worked his way through the inside passage, he gathered a number of sightings from locals. Some sightings were similar to what the National Park Service Ranger had seen. Some sightings were from pilots who had seen UFOs while flying. One sighting by Mitchell Wu, captain of Last Licks, a salmon boat in Gustavus, led to a strange Men in Black occurrence. That night, he had called to crewmate Al Ziegler, a part-time meteorologist for the Department of Fish and Game, to look at the pulsating lights out on the horizon. Ziegler told him they weren't satellites, or morning planets, or weather balloons. They watched the lights do strange maneuvers close to the water. The boat crew hauled in a load of silver and king salmon as the lights zoomed away. All the fish in their nets were without eyes. The next day, Wu said that a man flashing a federal ID came to the dock to speak with the crew. He told them to forget about what they had seen.
Eyeless fish.
Man, Men in Black. 2 occasions in the story of these interlopers.
2 occasions.
Remember in the beginning, someone in a black suit came in and told them that no one's going to believe them? Maybe not overly aggressive, but there's no point in telling your story.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
technically. It might have just been a man wearing a black suit.
You might be right. I need to revisit the story. I thought that it was, they'd reported to different law enforcement agencies, National Park Service, and I thought that was someone they sat down with in official capacity, basically saying, yeah, look, no one's going to believe you. This is crazy, but I'm going to record your story.
Wasn't he also the one that was going to ship the stones, and then they never arrived?
Well, Hanja was the guy who, I think he was a geologist or some sort, had some sort of tradecraft in earthly stone research.
Not tradecraft, it's a study.
Okay, but he, as the story goes, he had collected the stones and sent them in, never got them back. That, this is the typical kind of Smithsonian sort of storyline where you have evidence for something and they come in to research it or to do some data analysis and then you never hear back, or maybe you hear back, but you don't get the original artifacts returned.
Right, but I don't think he had submitted these. I think he was shipping them back to New York. Was it New York?
Oh, that's right. The baggage was lost or stolen.
But just never
arrived.
arrived.
Literally just heard the story.
Yeah.
But somehow my brain is fried. But yeah, I think you're right.
Anyway, and whatever you want to think about the official in the beginning, maybe the black suit was just a official in a black suit. The end obviously sounds like a possible real encounter with these cryptic men in black that we hear so much about.
And I will say, I love this story so much. It's such a great story. And it's one of those that I feel like is very much lost to time. Thanks to Jesse Desmond for collecting this. I tried to find any other reports on this story besides John Love's original magazine article. And sure, skeptics will come and say, this is fiction written for UFO magazine. And that might be true. That's the thing is like, I can't find any other conversations about this. Again, it was in the 70s. Yeah. So there wasn't the internet where people are blogging about it, but it is this beautiful artifact of a story. And I'd love to find more research on this, or I'd love to find more information on John Love, who I also, if you guys out there, if any of you are familiar with UFO magazine, this particular UFO magazine, what was it called?
It's called UFO magazine.
It's called Ideals UFO magazine, issue number 4. This came from. But yeah, if any of you know more information on the story, I would love to dig deeper. I'd love to either corroborate or
check yourself before you wreck yourself?
Yes. Check the facts and see the truth behind it. But I will say for me, it does ring true. I mean, it is very extreme in some of the things that we've heard, but it parallels a lot of cases that have been documented and thoroughly researched. So,
by the way, a little off the subject, but speaking of ufologists and ufology, one of you out there, and you know who you are, you wrote in an email to us, a very adept and relatively renowned ufologist yourself. If you didn't get our response email, check your junk folder, because sometimes our emails go there. So if you're still listening.
The fella on the terrific documentary. Yeah, if you out there were on a documentary and you wrote into us and hadn't heard back, check your spam. We wrote back, and we'd love to hear from you. But anyway, back to this case. I think it's fascinating. So the question remains, did these people exist?
Yeah, I really hope they did, because I love the romance, the ambience of this. John Love's running into people on a ferry, the national park, which is such a thing now on YouTube, especially like, oh, national park ranger tells all that kind of stuff. But it's interesting to hear an account from the 70s where this alleged occurrence happened, where this happenstance meeting on this ferry in the Inside Passage. It's a great story, so I hope it's true. But it definitely does encapsulate some of the more incredible accounts that I've heard, especially the giant circle with these aquatic mammals being discovered, gutted, miles and miles and miles inland from the coast. But it is fascinating.
It's a very visceral and unique kind of description and case. And yeah, the article is written beautifully. We'll have it linked in the show notes for you guys. But again, did these people exist? I searched and searched online for, as little information as I had from the story. The guy Jack, who was a Coast Guard in the 70s. I did find a guy named Jack Friedman O'Ringer, which might not have been this guy. He just happened
to have the same name.
Well, he was also in the Coast Guard.
Not a lot of Jacks in the Coast Guard in the 1970s.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know where he worked in the Coast Guard, but his obituary said he was in the Coast Guard. His name was Jack.
I like that you're trying.
And he would have been probably working in the 70s, passed away sadly in 2020. But anyways, I tried to find corroboration. I tried to find out if these people existed. But again, it's so long ago.
Well, also, and here's an important point to remember, and I even forget this myself sometimes, but, we're 80s babies. And there was a time, if you're listening out there and you're younger than we are, or you're our age, and maybe you've forgotten, like I forget sometimes, that not everything is online.
Yeah.
There is so much information out there that has not been, transcribed, uploaded, uploaded to the World Wide Web, which is really just a collection of hardware servers scattered around the world. It's not like this omnipotent cloud of information. It really just depends on what humans decided to put on it throughout the last, 30 years or whatever.
I remember in middle school, I think, pre-big internet, before social media and everything, I remember having a dream about a girl that I swear was my soulmate. And I had her name. I knew what she looked like.
Corny.
And I remember going on dial-up AOL and searching Alta Vista or Ask Jeeves. I don't know what it was at the time.
Alta Vista.
But I could not find her.
Yeah.
It's probably because she doesn't exist. But
that was before social media.
That's what I'm saying. If Facebook existed, then I probably would be married. Mm-hmm. That's my point.
That was sort of irrelevant.
Anyway, I don't know how this connects to the rest of the episode. Okay. This is where it gets, I think, really interesting. We're going to dig down deep, pun intended, and look at who might be doing this. So in this crop circle carnage story that we just told, are they literally hunting organic resources, maybe organs, plasma, who knows, for use in some sort of underground advanced cities, villages, bases beneath? Crazy idea, but why not? That's a great argument, Jeremy. Thanks.
I mean, it's as reasonable as any other. We've heard.
But that idea that there is some advanced civilization, or there was, especially jumping in later with the Dark Pyramid, and then coming to the question about underground civilizations in general.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much around the world that talks about underground, even the beginning of the cultures that we have today coming up from underneath the surface into this world.
Right. The ant people in different native belief systems, creation stories, people coming from under the ground or guiding people to underground to survive cataclysms. So I was searching for more corroboration and stories in Alaska using
Albert Rosales?
Using Albert Rosales, such a great source of weird humanoid stories and everything. But actually, searching my entire library of my documents, PDFs of sources, I came across Artie Sixkiller Clarke.
Oh, this is interesting.
This is interesting because this ties into the expansion.
Yes, it does.
And the underground connection. These are local boys.
Nice. Tremors reference.
Get up on your roof.
They're under the ground.
So native lore actually points to an ancient reality of what these things might be, if these are the same things talked about in legend and belief, and what they might be doing. Artie Sixkiller Clarke says, quote, "In the 1940s, the remains of 600 ancient structures were discovered near Point Hope, Alaska. The Ipuatak ruins are laid out in a city-like grid and show evidence that prehistoric inhabitants in mathematics and cosmic knowledge comparable to the ancient Maya. The discovery did not surprise the local Inupiat population. They believe this discovery proved the validity of their ancient stories that told of star people who visited and inhabited the land and built cities both above and below ground. Even today, Alaska natives tell stories that modern Alaska is the site of many underground cities built by star people who travel back and forth between the Earth and the stars." Now, what are people seeing? This traveling in and out of the water,
Yeah.
underground, behind mountains,
Transmedium.
up to the sky and back to the Earth in Alaska.
Yeah.
Same as was in the legends. Same as that lore. But this is specifically, I think, appropriate to what we're talking about. So what are they doing on the surface? Are they hunting? There is a Cherokee story that she cites, that in the southeastern United States, when the Cherokee first arrived, they found these well-tended gardens, but they didn't know who cared for the gardens. No one was around. Eventually, they discovered a group of people who lived underground and came out only at night to tend the gardens. They harvested the food and took it underground to their cities. Now, my theory, consider this. In the southeastern United States, you had these strangers coming up to garden. But in Alaska, you hunt.
Makes sense.
Are these things, or these civilizations, or whatever they are, underground, coming up to hunt and bringing it back down to survive? Just like in the southeastern United States, the Cherokee strangers that they discovered were tending these gardens and then going underground before the sun came
You're
up.
saying we have bastions of leftover civilizations potentially coming up in different parts of the world and utilizing the materials depending on the region.
Maybe.
Interesting idea for sure.
I don't understand the hunting part, though. Are you relating this to the previous story?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like a weird... Wouldn't you just bring the whole bodies with them?
Well, that's the question. What might they need? Like, what resources would they need? Especially since it seemed like an advanced civilization.
I mean, that is a big question mark, John. You're right.
If they're advanced civilization, why would they... I don't know.
Well, maybe if you say you are, you're doing the carnivore diet, but on a spaceship, or you're underground, so you need like living animals, so you go and just collect certain organs and bring them back. Maybe
you're
you just
saying
need
maybe, because I get what you're saying, John. One argument you could make, I guess, is let's say you were living underground and let's say you didn't have endless space down there and you had waste. Why would you bring that stuff you're not going to use down in there with you?
Right, you just collect the things and then you put all the bones in one pile.
So you take the eyes and the claws out of the bear and you leave everything else?
We need trophies.
I think it's much more likely that it's whatever civilization or whatever these things are, they're studying whatever this is.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know.
It just makes a lot more sense.
But they could still be collecting and bringing them underground.
Possible, yeah.
Possible.
I think this, if true, is a natural phenomenon. It's most likely an ice tornado that just went in a circle and just kind of ripped random parts out of the animals.
No, that's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah. It was definitely a stretch, I think, to say that these are they're collecting food and bringing it down. But I just thought it was interesting.
I'm not
correlation.
Poo-pooing you.
It definitely could be food. Like I've heard channelers say that a lot of the mutilations are they're actually going to be breeding animals for food on their planet.
Right.
So they're gathering whatever they need, genetic material. to do
specific. I mean, that's always the question about abductions. Like, why do they focus on certain?
I mean, it's pretty
elements of the
obvious.
body?
They're doing some sort of genetic experimentation manipulation.
Yeah.
Breeding programs.
And what else would it be?
Who knows?
There's a lot of vitamins. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like the whole topic gets weirder and weirder with every passing year, especially lately, especially with the conversation broadening. I feel like when it comes to like the spiritual aspects of this stuff, like who knows, are the ritualistic properties in some of these cases, it's hard to, because it's funny because you think about like in the beginning of cattle mutilation awareness, you would
Cattle mutilation awareness. It's Cattle Mutilation Awareness Day.
I think that's a badge you can get at Little Moulten House website. Cattle Mutilation Awareness
You know
Day.
what I mean? Like there was a big like, oh, is it animal sacrifice? Or are these like Satanists? Like in the 80s or whatever, that was a big fear. But what if like
it just feels like the surgical elements to it, though.
I know. I'm just kind of throwing something wild out there. But what if like we come full circle and that becomes in ufology a sort of like, because there is a lot of talk now of the spiritual aspect or the metaphysical, other realmish aspects to a lot of what's going on lately. It'd be interesting if it kind of went. I hope it doesn't go in that direction because it's a much darker angle on this stuff. But
yeah.
Anyway, just throwing that in there.
That's my opinion.
So yeah, I know it's a crazy theory. These civilizations underground, maybe coming up and harvesting, maybe for food, or maybe like you said, John, maybe for genetic purposes. If there is an organized civilization underground, maybe doing testing underground, maybe that connects to the Black Pyramid that isn't too far from here. We're going to find out more in a minute. But it's interesting to note, Chris, that the Cherokee strangers in the southeast United States were small, had blue skin.
Oh man,
and large black eyes.
There it is.
And the blue skin connects with what's coming up in the expansion.
Yes, it is interesting. It's just strange that this episode is involving a lot of, unfortunately, animal mutilation. But it is interesting because the second half of this episode, we're going to be getting into Linda Moulton Howe's research on something other than mutilation, this Black Pyramid, alleged pyramid in Alaska. But she is most known for, obviously, the beginning of all of her work was Dark Harvest, at least Into the Strange,
right?
Which was about the cattle mutilations in the late 70s, early 80s. But we're going to do the Frozen Harvest, I guess.
Before we get into the expansion and tell you guys a little bit about that, we got a special letter, John.
Yeah, just real quick. Really special thank you to Claire. She made a very generous gift to Pawsitive Hope Shelter in honor of Jake.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was just really touching. I really appreciate that. We are actually going to, at some point, do a
fundraiser?
Yeah, like a fundraiser for some sort of animal rescue.
In Jake's honor.
Yeah, and just in, I think we had thought about doing that before he even died. But yeah, we want to do something for that. But anyways, yeah, that was very sweet of you, Claire. And just wanted to thank you on air.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the show notes to that.
Yeah, if anyone else wants to donate, for sure.
Yeah.
I got Jake from a shelter. And
was it Pawsitive Hope? Is that the name?
Pawsitive Hope. I'm not sure if it's a specific location or it's just their branches around the country, but
cool. Thanks, Claire.
We'll leave a link. And
absolutely.
Very honored.
Yeah. Go support it, guys. All right. Well, speaking of support, thank you to all you who support us by signing up for the expansion. We've got some fascinating stories coming up in the expansion today.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to launch off from this frosty land and then land back in the frosty land with some more stories of strangeness.
There's so much more to uncover.
Yeah, we could do a whole series, and we probably will do more Alaska Strangeness episodes in the future, different editions, but we've got fascinating tales of missing time along the tundra, disappearing on your trip to and from work, small holographic men, that a spate of them seen in the 70s that I came across, a whole spate of them.
There's a flap of spates?
It points to the idea, are some of these things that are seen testing of technology by maybe a shadow government or a breakaway civilization, these strange little green holographic creatures.
That makes sense. You'd want to do it in a remote area.
And continue with tales of, specifically there's a legend of the hairy man, known in that area of Alaska as the Kushtaka. It's fascinating. It also comes from John Love, and his article was beautifully written about this mysterious creature that has such strong, ridiculously strong connection to Tim Marjenko's
disembodied voices?
Disembodied voices, where they can mimic your calls. This goes back to, of course, all the Sasquatch lore, and people try to connect this, but it's an old legend of the natives in Alaska there, the Kushtaka. Anyway, so that's all coming up in the expansion. It's going to be fascinating. We're getting more of that, more native lore when it comes to these interactions with underground people, these sky people, wherever you think they're coming from.
And for people that are new, because there might be a lot of new people here, the expansion series is, for every episode that we release an extra expansion for members. Go to BELIEFHOLE.com, hit the big red expansion button. We've got hundreds of episodes ready to be listened to by you. And
That's right. You get access right away, and they're full episodes, not just expansion. Sounds like they're just like a clip, but they're a full.
They're their
produced
own thing. A lot of the times, they're completely different topics. So So if you're new and you run out of stuff to listen to, there's always a whole nother beautiful,
sunny
plethora of episodes that you have not heard yet.
Snorkel them up.
BELIEFHOLE.com.
Double your episodes, double your fun. Link in the show notes, guys.
And now for a preview of that expansion episode.
Access granted.
In Prince Rupert, British Columbia, I boarded the MV Matanuska, a 750-passenger ferry liner operated by the state of Alaska. The Matanuska took us up the winding waterway called the Inside Passage. 1,000 miles of primitive shorelines, mountainous islands of spruce trees, narrow glacier-carved channels surrounded by magnificent mountain ranges that make up the Tongass National Forest, the largest in the U.S. Rare bald eagles flew through the mist. Porpoises and whales were pointed out by the captain. Now and then there was a tiny fishing village with a drunk waving from the dock. Occasionally there was a broken-down cabin where a loner had gone to escape TV game shows, high taxes, and the artificial flavorings that go with modern American life.
That's well said.
Ashore, in the unspoiled forests, roamed enormous grizzlies, deer, elk, foxes, and beavers. There is still gold in the mountains, and just to the north, in Glacier Bay, there are incredible copper deposits. In the far north, of course, is Alaska's black gold, oil. The forests themselves are a wealth of timber, representing billions of bunk beds, guitars, and paneled family rooms. The waters are rich with the flesh of countless salmon, crab, grayling, Arctic char, and shellfish. It was against this background of natural beauty that Philip Machling, a National Park Service Ranger assigned to the Alaska Marine Highway, told me of his UFO encounters on the Inside Passage. Quote,
"This is a land of myths and superstitions,"
Machling told me.
"That's what happens when people get away from the noise and the nonsense of high population areas. One myth concerns the Kushteka, or otter people. The Kushteka have been feared by the Alaskan Indians for centuries, even more than the grizzly. They are rarely seen, but We're back, friends of the hole. Thank you for sticking with us in the sticky bottom of the hole.
Yes.
A dirty.
Okay.
It's a dirty hole.
Why is it dirty?
Remember at the end of last episode?
Oh, yeah. That was accidental. What do we say about it? Just
we said something like the floor of the hole.
floor is sticky. Is it sticky?
Yeah. And you're like, there's a floor?
Oh, that's right. I thought it was a bottomless hole. Oh, we had a whole conversation about Bill and Ted's bogus journey. Anyway, welcome back from the break. I hope you got a little rest, because rest is very important.
Oh, it is.
Isn't it, John?
It is. Did you know that traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat?
What?
It can lead to acne, allergies, stuffy noses, and it's just gross.
That's disgusting.
Miracle Made, our sponsors for this show, offer a whole line of self-cleaning antibacterial bedding such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent up to 99.7% of bacteria growth and require up to 3 times less laundry.
That's pretty righteous.
That's awesome. And I gotta say, I love them.
I do too.
Yes!
These are wonderful bed sheets. I love the fact that they are silver infused fabrics.
That's just cool.
I didn't know that you could get sheets that actually,
It's like Mithril.
Keeps your grossies down at night.
keeps your grossies down.
It's also very comfortable.
Well,
Like,
the fact that they're self-cooling is awesome, because I always get really hot and bothered at night. You know, I get crazy dreams, but these keep you cool. Like, I was actually very impressed by that.
Yeah.
Not waking up in sweats.
Very nice thickness, not too heavy, not too light. Like they're just a very soft, just overall high quality sheet.
yeah. And there's this cool weight to them, cool meaning temperature-wise. The weight of them make me feel like I'm kind of being tucked in by a cool, chill angel.
Yeah, they are pretty fantastic, guys. And you should check them out. You should support them, because they support us, and that's awesome. So if you're interested, you want to go get some freaking awesome, nice sheets. And actually, they're going to throw in 3 free towels.
Yeah.
If you use our code. So,
And an extra 20% off.
and a 20% off.
Yeah, so go to trymiracle.com/beliefhole to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, If you order today, you can save over 40%.
40%?
And if you use our promo, all caps, BELIEFHOLE, pretty easy, at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels, as we've said, and save an extra righteous 20%.
So what do you got to lose?
Upgrade your sleep today.
Absolutely. All right, guys, go get cozy. Now let's get back to
The adventure.
the cold climate you will need these sheets for. Keep you warm. Alaska. Anyway, what is the shape and size of the hole? How big is it? Is it as deep as the Black Pyramid of Alaska?
Well, how deep is that?
That is 700 feet deep. Actually, the base is 700 feet deep.
Base.
It's John's new hit, Black
Sorry.
Pyramid. Black Pyramid Base from Bright Lights.
It's been a long day.
Yes, it has, dude. Oh my gosh. Been a long night. Very little sleep. To answer your question, Chris, it is allegedly, according to stories, according to Linda Moulton Howe's sources, 700 feet deep at the base. So it's a pyramid standing vertical. At the tip is 150 feet below the surface, making the pyramid. Actually, I'll let her tell you if you're interested.
The wonderful Linda Moulton Howe.
Yes, this is the incredible Linda Moulton Howe from her incredible work.
Been fans of hers for over 12 years at this point.
Oh, we've been big fans for a long time.
Linda Moulton, how?
That's her. That's the one. She's, if you guys are unfamiliar with the work, you may be familiar with, I think you mentioned earlier, Chris,
Strange Harvest?
Strange Harvest.
Her award-winning documentary.
So it's kind of interesting. She was like a beauty queen journalist. And then one fine day, she took a dive into the weird and did this hard-hitting, groundbreaking, was it Emmy Award-winning documentary, Strange Harvest, about the cattle mutilations. It brought it kind of to the forefront of mass consciousness.
Set her off on a career of high strangeness.
She's a fascinating person, does incredible work. We're going to link to her stuff in the show notes. You guys need to go subscribe to her YouTube channel and check it out.
I mean, if you haven't heard of her,
Yeah, Earth Files is her channel, by the way.
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to Earth Files.
Ooh, well done.
That's her channel. Check it out. But we're going to be playing some clips from her and her groundbreaking interviews that she's done here on this dark pyramid legend, I guess you could say. I mean, it's obviously not proven yet, but
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to hear these because I've heard the rumors, but I don't know much about it. So I'm glad you brought this to us.
absolutely. I've been wanting to talk about it for a long time. This video originally aired on her channel in 2020 that we're going to be taking clips from. And I encourage you all to watch the entire video. It's a lot longer than what we're going to be playing here. It's a lot more detail. Link will be in the show notes or in the description of the YouTube video if you're watching now. So check that out after this. Let's hear her describe from that video. I took a snippet of the basic description of what this pyramid is supposed to be like.
There have been several sources who say the big black underground pyramid is about 60 miles west of Mount McKinley, now Denali, and on a straight line bearing to Nome, Alaska, further west. The base of the Dark Pyramid is supposed to be 700 feet down from the land surface. The top of the Dark Pyramid, the vertex, is described as 150 feet from the surface. That would mean the Dark Pyramid is 550 feet high. Let's compare that to the Great Giza Pyramid in Cairo, Egypt. This stands 455 feet high. So if the measurements given by alleged eyewitnesses are correct, the Dark Pyramid in Alaska is 100 feet higher than Cheops. Its base starting at 700 feet below ground. And here is what a U.S. Navy Huey helicopter pilot delivering cargo to a U.S. military operation at the Dark Pyramid site in the spring of 1978 allegedly said to a fellow Navy man who told his son, who told me, quote, "This is as super secret a situation as the Manhattan Project was. Nobody is supposed to know this place even exists. This thing is some kind of power generator, and it's thousands of years old. It's made out of stone like a pyramid," close quote. If the pyramid stone is all black as described, it might be basalt, like the huge black basalt structures 2 miles underneath the ice in Antarctica, described to me by Navy SEAL Spartan 1 in my Antarctica documentary. Black basalt comes from volcanic lava and is one of the densest, hardest rock materials on our planet. Continuing with the Navy man's revelation to his son to me, quote, investigators don't know where the underground pyramid came from, who made it, or how it works. But it can generate enough energy to power the whole North Slope, all of Alaska, and probably the whole country of Canada. That's how much juice it puts out. They don't have a clue where it came from, and it is deep underground, close quote.
Wild.
Pretty amazing.
That would be great. That would be cool.
Why would they hide it?
But then they couldn't charge money for the energy.
Exactly.
So this is supposed to have been down there for thousands of years,
Yes.
according to her sources.
And we have a witness coming up who, interestingly, that corroborates, because this witness that you heard from that quote, you'll have to go to her video to watch that. It's the final interview in the video on hers. We have two other sources that we're going to be playing here, but they corroborate that. Specifically, a fellow whose father worked as a Western Electric engineer working inside the pyramid, trying to get the electricity. It was almost like a reverse engineering project of like, where did this come from? How does it work? But it was very compartmentalized, like a Manhattan Project type situation. So when this other source says compartmentalized, compartmentalized Manhattan Project style, that's what this other source said independently. So I just thought that was interesting.
So it's not that it was a cover-up, that obviously that this is secret tech. This is a discovery. The discovery's been covered up. That's the project and them trying to deconstruct it and reverse engineer it or whatever.
Yeah. We're not supposed to know it's there, and there's a reason for that.
I was just going to say it's interesting because you mentioned she mentions the Manhattan Project. Did you know that there was an Arctic base that we built in secret during the Cold War that nobody knew about for 60 years?
Really?
Where we built an elaborate matrix of tunnels underground and kept it secret.
In the Arctic?
In the Arctic. Yeah, during the Cold War, the U.S. built a network of tunnels in the Greenland ice sheet. So yeah, to echo what you were saying, easy to keep things quiet in regions like this.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Not a lot of people snooping around. So how did Linda get involved in this? How did she get this information? She's had multiple sources. It all started when she went to Göbekli Tepe in Turkey.
Awesome.
She was preparing a radio broadcast on the discoveries there. She visited Göbekli Tepe as well as an underground city known as Derinkuyu, which when I say it, it sounds like Graham Hancock is talking in my brain, so I must have heard him say it too. That's also in Turkey, deep underground tunnels that the ancient Turks had built. So she gets back, she prepares this broadcast for her, her news broadcast, and of this underground exploration, and she asked the question, why? Why was Göbekli Tepe buried? If you guys don't know the story of Göbekli Tepe, do some Googling, check it out. But basically this ancient structure that was built and then like 1,000 years later buried again, 12,000 years ago.
It's buried multiple times, I think.
Around the Younger Dryas period, catastrophism. Anyways, fascinating stuff going back with that, but we'll link to some stuff in the show notes for you. The point is, she broadcasts about that as well as asking the question, why did the ancient Turks go so deep underground, building the city underground? And that provokes a contact. She gets an email from retired U.S. Army Chief Warrant II officer Doug Mutschler. The following is what he sent her. Hello, my name is Douglas A. Mutschler, CW2 USA retired. And during my service tour in Alaska, I was informed of a pyramid under the land in Alaska. There is other information concerning this that came to my attention after it was reported to us in 1992. I have tried to pass this info to others, but have not heard any response to my information. I assure you I am telling you the truth about this, and I think that this is being kept quiet by our government as the news was buried the very next day after it was brought to my attention.
So now, would you go back, as I understand, that you are working counterintelligence as a warrant officer, CW2, and that you were in Anchorage, Alaska at Fort Richardson, and we are beginning this story in 1989.
I asked to go to Alaska as my first duty station as a warrant officer because my dad was stationed there, and he loved the place. I went there, and when I arrived, one of the first things I did was go and get maps because I wanted to prospect. So I went to the GSA office and I picked up every map that made up Alaska. They were the Joint Operation Graphic Ground Maps, scale 1 to 250,000. And it covered the whole bedroom wall and the ceiling I mean, these are really detailed maps. And I got to one of them that was on the western portion of the state, and it was whited out. There was a whole section about the size of a Christmas card, and it said, this area not surveyed as of this date. And the first thing I thought was, that's ridiculous. They've had the Earth mapped. I know Alaska was mapped out right after World War II. It didn't make sense for this to be whited out. They're hiding something. There's something there. But I had no need to know. Then I'm out processing, 1992. And we're sitting there. It was in late November, early December. And I'm sitting there in the orderly room with about 40 other people. And we were waiting for the last formation of the day. And we're watching a TV news program. And they started talking about this Chinese detonation of an underground nuclear bomb that was set off earlier that year.
May 22nd, 1992.
And they were talking about that, how big it was. And then there was a byline. And the story was about geologists around the world had been informed through the UN, because China had told the UN they were going to do this. And so these geologists got together and they said, let's get the best recordings of the Earth's crust and mantle using the vibrations from this explosion. And what they found in this byline story was under Alaska, they found a pyramid bigger than the one in Egypt. They said they didn't know whether it was solid or hollow. They couldn't tell that, but they had the distinct outline of a pyramid.
And this was supposed to be where?
That whited out area, the area that showed on the TV, were south of Mount McKinley, and it was towards the west, near the Nome area. There's an area there that was whited out, quite a large area, really. And when I saw the news program, I mean, it's in my mind's eye, I could see it just right where the whiteout area was. I knew that the whole world has been surveyed. So why was this whited out? It didn't make any sense. I was like, oh man, I got to get this tonight. So I went home and I got a recorder and set it up. No story. I called home, the lower 48, to my dad, and he religiously, my dad is a TV hound, especially a news hound, morning, noon, evening, and 11 o'clock. He watches them all. He heard nothing about it, not a thing. I mean, it's a big story, bigger than the one in Egypt, and it's not being covered in lower 48.
Meaning, as if either there was some block on the story getting into the United States, or the story had been picked up only by the local Channel 13 station in Anchorage.
That's the only thing I could come up with myself. But the thing is, I went the next day to the station and asked if I could get a copy of that story. And I was talking to the general manager, asking for it. And he said, what story? We didn't run no story about no pyramid. And I was like, sure you did. There's 40 of us guys in there watched it on TV. And he denied it ever running. And I was just perplexed. Knowing what I know, I thought to myself, this guy's been got to. He's covering. I mean, it's the only thing that could be.
And what you mean is that the United States government, when push comes to shove and the Department of Defense says that something is sensitive, they can interact with management in TV stations or networks and say, don't run that story.
They do it all the time.
Yes.
That's a matter of record. So I was walking out and there was a technician and he was sitting there staring at me. And the way he acted, he's like, come here, you know. And I walked over and I said, can you help me with this? He goes, man, we ran that, but I can't get it for you. It's gone. I can't help you. But it ran. I was mad. I went back to the office and formation that night. I told everybody what I'd found out, and the guys in the unit were like, wait a minute, we watched it. What do you mean they didn't run it? The same thing I was saying. So I have tried to find that news program, and somebody out there has to have been recording their kid's ball game or wrestling match or something, and they've got it. Somebody has to have it. And I'd love to get it because I want to find out where those grid coordinates are.
Crazy.
Yeah, a seismic revelation.
I mean, if someone else could corroborate that, pretty damning.
Like you said, if someone's going to be taping their kid's baseball game or taping something on TV or something, well, you'd happen to have that news clip on an old VHS or something. If anyone out there has a copy. Yeah. But yeah, I guess according to him, it only was broadcast in Alaska, not the lower 48.
That was her guess. Maybe that's why it was like it didn't get out past the local news close to where the pyramid was.
Well, his daddy said was a news hound, so he would have seen it if it had aired.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't. So yeah, I mean, who knows? But I mean, there's a reason to hide what is there, if there is something there. If the next testimony is true, the next testimony comes from a Western Electric engineer's adopted son, who is a man, 46 years old, living in Omaha at the time, in Nebraska, I think in 2020, or at least that's when this video aired on Linda's channel. And interestingly, this points to the idea of compartmentalization. The reason that this man was there, the voice you'll hear is the adopted son of the Western Electric engineer, and his father was there as an employee of Western Electric, brought in to allegedly work on and perhaps back engineer this underground pyramid and whatever technology, electrical technology, was involved. And the reason this makes sense, and some of the interesting background to this, is because, and this comes from Linda's video, that the United States began to plan and construct a radar system in Alaska and through the Arctic. This was known as the Distant Early Warning Line of Radars, or the DEW lines. Now, the purpose of this was to monitor any planes or rockets coming from the North Pole from an enemy such as Russia at the time. Now, here's the connection. In order to back up its DEW line operations, this early warning radar system, the U.S. had to power it. So they began building what was called the White Alice communication system. Now, this provided the U.S. Air Force a telecommunication link in Alaska, and this was done with the scientific engineering of Western Electric. Now, of course, as Linda always does, she asked for the credentials of this man's father, which was then sent to her, and we'll have these in the show notes and on the screen. And this guy was definitely credentialed. He received a life membership pin from the Telephone Pioneers of America organization from 1930, the same organization that was founded in 1911 with only 734 members, which included Alexander Graham Bell. So that's kind of a small pool of people that received this pretty important accolade, if you will. So his dad must have been someone kind of important. At least that's what I would ascertain from that. It's something to think about. Maybe if you're going to send a guy to a secret underground pyramid technology operation in Alaska, you might want to give him a pin to put on. So without further ado, let's roll the testimony from this credentialed man's son.
And here now is the son. He asked me to call him John Smith, talking about his Western Electric engineer father's extraordinary work at the base of a huge dark black pyramid with its base 700 feet below the surface in Alaska, not far from Mount McKinley, now Mount Denali, in the years 1959 to 1961.
I was listening to Coast to Coast, and I heard the story by Doug Mutschler, and I was really shocked because my father had told me a lot of stories after his time in the war when he worked in Alaska. And apparently this was some top secret thing.
From what year to what year?
It was 1959 through 1961.
In your email, you said after finishing college degrees, he was, quote, recruited by the military to join a group of other experts to study and work at an underground structure in Alaska that, in his words, they called the Dark Pyramid.
Yeah, and sometimes he called it the Dark Pyramid, and sometimes he would call it the Black Pyramid. And what he had told me about it was that he was recruited to go out there. I don't know if it was through the Navy or who it was through. But I know that they had some kind of deal set up with Western Electric. They had taken some of these people and recruited them, and then my mom always said she had to keep it a secret.
What he did.
Yeah, she told everybody that he was overseas.
And then he was approached at Western Electric by representatives from some military branch in the United States.
To the best of my knowledge, that is how it happened. He said that he flew to Alaska, and he landed in Unalakleet, and from Unalakleet, they were on a military bus with blacked out windows. He wore a compass around his neck that my mom had given him, and he said that they headed from that point mostly east from Unalakleet, and they weren't supposed to know where they were going or anything.
Your father knew that for a fact because he was watching the compass around his neck?
That's correct.
Well, when they started northeast, did he ever say where they ended up?
He said it was about a 6-hour drive altogether.
Could you tell me if he described how many men were with him in that bus?
Well, he said it was a full bus. I know when they got there, they had something set up. He said it wasn't tense, but it wasn't that far from it. And they had him in there, and they had about a 4-week period where they went through orientation. And then he started working on this project.
Where did your father work, and what else did he tell you in detail?
They had elevator shafts that went down. My father would always say when we'd complain about doing farm work and stuff that if we only knew what it was like working 700 feet under the ground, then we wouldn't be complaining.
Well, did he ever give details about what it was like at 700 feet underground?
He worked in an enclosed room. They had elevator shafts. He said they were more like mining shafts, you know, where they'd close the gate up in front of you and they'd drop you down. And once he was at the bottom, then they'd have the rooms down on the corners of where this structure was. And he worked in the enclosed building.
He worked on a corner of the underground structure that they called the Dark Pyramid?
Yes. He said that the corners of the structures faced northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest.
Are you describing the base of a pyramid?
Yes.
Jeez, that would be so freaky.
Yeah.
Imagine working in that environment.
You'd feel like entombed.
I could just hear the gate closing on the elevator and just going down to 700 feet to this ancient structure.
I mean, that's obviously like the bedeviling detail is that you're not only like deep underground in some mysterious place, but it's this, who knows who built this thing.
Yeah. This kind of alien technology, whether it's off-world or underworld,
what history this has.
It'd be very strange.
I love some of the details in that. One, the fact that they weren't supposed to know where they were going, but his wife had given him a compass that he kept on his necklace so he could see the general direction where this thing might have been. Pretty amazing. And the detail of, it just adds a little credibility. I just feel like in a natural kind of humanistic way when, you know, we used to complain about doing farm work on our farm and my dad would say, at least you're not working 700 feet underground or something to that effect. Right. You know, like
it's little different than walking 5 miles through the snow.
Yeah. It's one of those stories though. And back in my day,
at least you're not working in an ancient underground mysterious pyramid in the dark.
Yeah. So we're about to hear more about his work in the pyramid, but this is an interesting little segue that Linda has with him where it sounds like he eventually, this man's father, who I think he goes by John Smith, but his father took his work home with him and it sounds like powered his farm.
Awesome.
From black pyramid technology.
And another thing that was kind of funny is when he built this house out here in 1971, he built it and it faces the same way. He made the driveway longer and turned his house crooked.
Did he explain why that placement was important?
No, he never did, but I kind of figured it out later when he had me working on some little projects of his. From the time I was 12, I've been working on a farm, and he had me work on a aluminum structure that he created that he could convert like a low volt into a higher voltage.
And it was all aluminum?
The structure was aluminum. We couldn't use steel, and he was always adamant about 48-degree angle.
Where?
From the angle of the pyramid structure that he built, from the corner to the point.
The point of the pyramid up above.
Right.
Did he ever imply what that extra 3 degrees might mean above 45?
No, I have no idea, but I know that he could take a 110-volt generator and could hook it up and it would go through a series of wires to each of the corners of it, and he would put these converted electric motors at the end of them, and when he'd run the voltage through it, he could run enough to run our entire house, the farm, everything. He said he could multiply energy.
Wow. Interesting.
Multiply energy. We need that now. It reminds me so much of we've talked about pyramids before, and remember those old videos where, was it Russian experiments where they would put, plants, crops, grow plants in there, and they would grow like 10 times the size, just because of the structural shape. Right. The fractal nature. Yeah, research with that, and research with energy, just electrical energy.
I feel like you could have all sorts of like healing modalities too.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot with, healing energies and things. With a lot of, I think, fairly unresearched kind of stuff. Yeah. That would have been like more researched if we'd let the Wilhelm Reichs last longer instead of putting them in jail and stealing their research.
More steampunk world.
Yeah.
Would be cool.
Yeah, we got gypped.
Yeah. I want to see Zeppelins flying around, I want less microprocessing and more robots,
Yeah.
Like giant.
Probably need the microprocessing for robots, don't you?
Yeah, I guess.
I love the idea.
Unless you want to go automaton.
Automaton.
You just like wind up robots,
That's an upcoming episode.
A clockwork world.
Those are like mechanical robots.
Yeah.
They're not really robots.
Robots are mechanical too.
And they're robotic.
They're mechanical. Robots are machines.
Yeah, but mechanical is different than...
It just means moving parts.
Oh, well, it's more than just mechanical.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. You need a brain,
and
potentially.
Motors, which is not mechanical.
Motors are mechanical?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is a car a machine? When a car has a motor.
Is a machine the same thing as mechanical?
Yeah, that's where you get the word mechanical from. Word of the day. Machine. Ancient AI, by the way, and robots that existed. Oh yeah, bringing it back in ancient times that are secret and hidden. That's an episode I want to do. Didn't you do that a little bit on The Lost Collectors?
I don't think so.
I thought you did. Anyway, continue with Linda.
But remember that, multiply energy. That's coming up again. All right, this next clip is called Enter the Pyramid. And this involves classified secrets and fractal energy.
How did he explain what this dark pyramid structure was? Where did it come from? Who made it?
I don't know anything about where it came from. And he said he knew it was pyramidal shaped, and he didn't know if there was an interior to it or if it was made out of stone or whatever. All he knew was that they were using the angles of it to distribute energy.
How big was the pyramidal structure?
They had shafts that went down, and he said he was 700 feet under the ground.
Where did your father suggest that 700 feet down was in relationship to the whole pyramidal structure?
That was at the base, at the corners. When they were 700 feet down, that was the vertical shaft, and then there was also horizontal shafts that led to the corners.
And did he ever go in a horizontal shaft directly into whatever was at each of those pyramidal corners?
Yes, he did. At the end of those, there was another room. I know he worked in there.
And the conduits that were leading from the room that your father was personally in one of the pyramid corners, where did those conduits go?
Those led straight into the corner of the structure.
If he's coming down in an elevator down 700 feet.
Right.
When the elevator opens up, is he outside the corner of the pyramid or inside?
No, he is in some kind of room. He said they had bunks there where they could sleep, and kind of a bunkhouse, and they had a kitchen, and then they had a control room, and then a hallway that led out of there to the corner of the structure. He'd said that they were cement hallways, nothing fancy or carpeted or anything like that, just cement hallways. And he'd go from the main control room. He said it was like an electronic room. They had like glass transformers or insulators of some kind in there, and it was just kind of a electronic control room.
And did he ever suggest that he had been briefed about the relationship of that electronic control room to the rest of the pyramid?
Well, he knew that they were working on some kind of energy distribution or acceleration, and he knew that they were trying to get energy to go through the corners and up through the middle and try to accelerate that energy.
In your email, you said, quote, in his later years, he would always complain when receiving his electric bill that it would be free if we knew the truth.
Yeah. he said that even if it wasn't free, it should be pennies. And he talked about Tesla. He felt there was a way to distribute energy that would be free.
Did your dad ever describe in any way what agency of the government he worked for?
Well, I know he was working for the higher-ups. I've seen papers, correspondence from Pentagon. I know he was working for some pretty high-up people in the government. He used to bring home envelopes that even through the 80s that would be confidential, and we knew better than to go through any of his papers.
When was the last month and year that you know for a fact that your father was making these trips down the 700-foot elevator and walking into that electronic base of that pyramid?
Well, I know they went down there for a week at a time, and then they would have 2 days off. And the last time would be sometime in 1961. You know, when I heard your story on Coast to Coast, and it shocked me that there was somebody talking about the same thing that my dad had talked about.
Do you remember what your father said specifically about Tesla's work?
Well, I know that he compared Tesla's work to fractals, and he also said that a pyramid shape was the perfect structure to create fractals.
How does that relate to electricity?
Well, I don't know. I think it had something to do with the fractals somehow enhancing the energy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I love that he didn't know the answer. It sounded very honest, like, I don't know, but that's what he said. Yeah. It also sounds like he didn't get it to work necessarily in the way that you would need it to power a whole farm or house, because I love we had a great episode about alternative energy sources technology. Check it out, guys. That was in the expansion. We'll look at the show notes.
Oh, yeah. Silenced tech.
Silenced tech. But we talked about Bob Lazar and his vehicle. But, you know, the idea of getting more output than you put in with electricity, and this idea of, you know, this constant like perpetual motion machines and these kinds of things that are always alleged to be debunked or hoaxed, or the ones that may work, those people are usually assassinated and their stuff shelved.
Hydrocar.
Like the water car, Stanley Meyer. But there's still a problem, it sounds like, with converting the energy for use. In this case, you know, because it sounds like he was using some sort of pyramidal structure he built at home out of aluminum that his son was helping him with. But he said in later years he would complain about, when he got the electric bill, that this would be pennies.
Yeah.
If this technology that I worked on, if people knew about it. You know, or did they get it to work? Are they using it after this man left his job or his post?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Is there anything to suggest in this story, in this guy's story, that his father was working in an ancient pyramid? Is it possible that he had been contracted by the government to be working in some sort of Tesla experimental reconstruction of an ancient pyramid or a new technology?
The suggestion that they built this pyramid structure underground using like boring and tunneling to make this shape of a pyramid. I don't know. I don't know if is that plausible.
I don't know why you would do that. Why
would you put it underground?
Underground seems more challenging.
Yeah, I guess if you just wanted to hide it.
Just occurred to me because he said that his dad didn't see anything in the interior. It was just, he knew it was a pyramid, and you could tell he went down so many feet and then it went out to the four corners of this pyramid shape.
Right.
But it's not like he saw carvings, or I don't know how close he was to the actual stone interior.
Well, he was inside it.
Right.
But yeah, he said concrete is what he saw. So that could have been.
Right. So it's not like they either built tunnels within it, or were they building a separate one, even maybe trying to, like you would do it with a craft, maybe reverse engineer a new one.
It does sound like, especially since he was compartmentalized in this one little room, which was like an electrical room, essentially, where they were working on one aspect of it, but you're compartmentalized from other people working on it. It sounds like their job was to try to figure out what of the information we're getting from how this, and they're trying to send energy from the corners up through the center.
Yeah.
Just sounds like an inverted Independence Day death ray. Anyway,
Randy Quaid.
But to hear more about that and more details on I'm sure some of the stuff we're missing, definitely check out the video. There's one last short clip I want to play, and it's the question that a lot of people are probably asking, the question that Linda really wanted to know. Is there any sign that your father thought this was from outer space?
Did your father ever hint that the pyramid underground in Alaska where he worked could have been constructed by something from outer space?
Well, he never said so. I know I've asked him, and he said he didn't know.
So when you have asked him over the years whether the pyramid in Alaska was made by creatures from outer space, he has always told you he didn't know.
He says that it was technology that was completely unknown at the time, and he didn't know where the technology came from. he had his little part, and then other people had their parts, and I think they kept him a little in the dark.
But your father said to you that he was working on technology of a completely unknown source.
Absolutely.
That would suggest, don't you think, that something non-human from someplace else in the cosmos built that pyramid underground in Alaska?
Well, it makes me wonder, because my dad, one thing he said is, whatever you say, that's your word, and I know whatever he told me were all true stories.
Whatever you say, that's your word.
That's that generation.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, the idea that it's got to be from outer space, I think it's the traditional idea from some...
Jeremy likes the inner idea.
I like the inner idea. Also the ancient idea. The idea, I mean, we've talked about, there's the breakaway civilization idea. There's the idea of ancient civilizations that have been buried.
Yeah,
look at this.
That's true.
It's a buried technology, a buried structure. How long ago was it? Was there an Atlantean-type civilization? Were there survivors?
Yeah.
If so, did we rediscover something that had been here either from us or from another race that lived here, another species that was intelligent?
Or could there have at one point been some sort of dimensional schism where a pyramidal structure came through our reality like a pimple pop?
Okay.
And then let loose whatever
That's gross.
reality might have been in that other dimension.
I don't understand. So you're saying that the pyramid came through and popped and then changed, that's where we get the Mandela effect? It changed our
never mind.
reality?
It was a dumb idea.
That was a weird one, Chris.
I wonder how much the government really knows about all this stuff, and like to what depth are they keeping things under wraps that would just like
feet.
blow people's minds?
How much do they even understand?
I mean, when I say the government, it's obviously
factions of...
I don't think politicians know about it, most at least.
Yeah.
I would say
just the most evil.
Broken away aspects, black ops, things like that.
Yeah.
The people who really run the show.
Special departments within defense contractors working also with NSA or CIA, international agencies.
Well, an interesting thing to consider too is even if they are, let's say that the highest up, most secretive black program people are in communication with another intelligence that might be visiting from wherever or have been here forever.
It's a classic idea.
Again, there's still the layer of the wall of whatever they tell you is going on, whatever these entities or whatever are telling you. So they're not even going to know.
There is no truth.
Yeah, there's never really
it's out there.
There's never a clear line. That's why you got to keep digging.
Once you potentially get to one, there's just another layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never ending.
That's kind of the beauty of life, though. The mystery keeps unfolding. The onion keeps peeling and we keep crying.
Tears of joy.
Onions make you cry.
They taste good, though.
They do.
Just like these thought snacks, we hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Yeah.
And speaking of the layered onions of mystery that are found all around the world, we wanted to give a special shout out to some authors that have sent books in. Some we've covered, some we have yet to do. But we wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, links in the show notes for these books, guys. Check them out. We've had a chance to skim through them. A lot of them were really excited to cover some of the stories in these books.
Yeah, absolutely. So Aurora Day and Ezra Crow, thank you for your 13 strange but true Central Texas tales as told by two sisters. I like that angle.
Yeah, it's a unique angle, and there are some great stories in there.
Yeah.
We do a Texas episode. We're definitely going to be mining that gold.
Of course, Tricks and Treats. Comic book. This is awesome. Halloween Head Comics. Definitely check out this. This is pretty...
the Soto brothers.
Yeah, pretty excellent read and visual candy. Excellent illustrations. Thank you for that. And of course, classic authors that we love dearly. Tim Marzenko with, of course, Disembodied Voices that I purchased. He sent us a copy of Gone Cold, which we have yet to cover, but I'm super excited to get into this one. Death and Disappearances in the Northern Woods. That's going to be a great episode.
Yes, and now that we have working internet, looking forward to doing some interviews.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, Hammerson Peters.
Oh, yeah.
What a wonderful man. His great works. We did Legend from the Honey Valley, and we will be doing more Mysteries of Canada, which is another tome of excellent research and stories. This one I'm super excited about. Christine and Todd Van Poel sent us their textbook. They wrote an incredible textbook.
A textbook?
Yeah, an academic book, if you will. An academic.
Oh, that's right. Anthropologist, right?
Yeah, an anthropological study of spirits. And in this, they wrote this letter to us, and they said, by the way, check out page 80 to 83 because there is...
Oh, is that the Chindy story?
Yeah, there is a personal account, and they know we like listener stories. So it's a published story of theirs where, while on an archaeological dig, they had an encounter with a Chindy spirit.
A spirit tornado, if you will.
Fantastic. We got to do it. I'm debating whether or not to do it on the next listener stories or save it for a Mysteries of the Southwest sort of episode. And last but not least, of course, Steve Stockton.
Steve.
Yes. This book, I don't think we've gotten into yet. I'm really excited about this one, Legends and Stories from Appalachian Trail.
Oh, yeah. It'd be great to do another Appalachian episode.
Yeah, we'll be doing more stuff with him.
Oh, and shout out to your lovely lady, Steve.
It's possible that someone has sent a book in the past 6 years and I did not come across it on the bookshelf today. So if you did, remind us. We've got a lot of books.
They've all been bangers so far that people have sent us.
Yeah, real bangers, Jared.
Is that a weird word to say?
It's just kind of odd sounding.
They're great books.
Yeah, fantastic.
We're excited to dig into. So thanks, guys. That's really sweet you guys send those in. We love free books.
Yeah, and we love this. We love this job.
We do. We're honored
to read great works from people and get to kind of retell stories and find corroboration. We're pretty lucky. It's satisfying work. It's a lot of work, but it is very satisfying.
Yeah, and thank you everyone who's been supporting us and supporting the show. And speaking of that, we have another kind of very special people out there. Members of the whole. Those of you that are
robust explorers.
Robust explorers ready to be thanked. Thanked and spanked.
Okay.
I don't know where that came from. Thanked by us. So please to enjoy these thank yous.
Let's give them a big welcome.
I think we have some extremely ridiculously special people to thank, starting with a few skywell riders swimming in the ocean of the whole.
What?
We have Michael freaking McCoy.
Oh my gosh, Michael.
Beam me up, brother.
Someone call the doctor.
Skywell rider. Skywell rider.
What a generous fellow. Plunging into the hole for the long term. We really appreciate that, Michael. Thank you for being a skywell rider.
Beautiful, beautiful water mammal, and we love you.
We love you.
Well, he's the rider. He's the rider of the mammal.
Oh, that's right. You're the rider of the mammal. You tame those mammals.
He's not the whale. He's the rider.
That's a good distinction.
Followed by another amazing rider of the whales in the hole, Michael Raymanis.
Skywell rider. Skywell rider.
Yes.
Michael. 2 Michaels. You guys are bonded forever.
Dude,
bonded in
through
the hole.
You'll see today we have a slew of Michaels just signed up in a row. It was very strange. So look out for that name.
Like must have been Michael Day.
Synchronicities.
We should celebrate Michael Day here in the hole.
Yes. Today is Michael Day.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, thank you.
You are a very, very special human to us.
100%.
Ride with love and light.
And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our third skywell rider. Now that we're finally catching up on these thank yous. Scarlet Sky Honey Badger.
That is awesome.
What a cool name.
That is an awesome name. That deserves a special sound
effect. You are
effect.
so creative.
I hope that's her birth name.
I'm sure it is.
Welcome to Skywell Land.
That is a killer name, and we appreciate your support so ridiculously much. Sincerely, guys. You are keeping the whole alive. Oh, and we should probably say this. I want to say it
Stop
because...
saying you're keeping it alive. I feel like we're on life support every time you say that.
Okay, you are helping it thrive. You're thriving the whole.
Rhyme it.
We thank you for thriving it.
Thank you for keeping the whole barely afloat.
And I wanted to say that beyond the shout-outs, the special Skywell shout-outs for you Skywells, we are going to be, with the help of our good friends Brad and Sam, our merch heroes in the hole, we are going to be adding some benefits to the Skywell. And the first one that we are talking about doing is if you've been a Skywell rider supporter for a period of time, you're going to start getting rewards like
pins.
We've got a custom crafted BELIEFHOLE pin die cast that you can, is that what they're called? Die cast pins? Enamel?
I don't know. Doesn't matter. People know what a pin
Anyways,
is.
they're cool. They're cool freaking pins, and they are a way to represent the power that you hold in the hole. On a jacket, on a backpack, whatever. They're going to be cool. And we just want to mention that this is just one little thing, but we're going to be doing these more as we
roll out the merch.
As the whole settles with everything going on in the background.
Yeah, we do
right now.
we're starting to get a little bit of help, which is really nice because it's just such a difficult thing to just get the show out. And so once we get used to having this help and we can integrate more and more, we want to add more stuff to everything. That's the plan.
Even I'll just say, even the thank yous are a ridiculous amount of work just because the systems from 2 different membership platforms, they pummel into this, automated sheet that I built that is broken.
You got to keep track and double
manually
check.
Go through all the names. That's why when we, sometimes we miss an episode or whatever, it's because we're trying to basically rebuild it. So,
or 3.
Yeah, this is the thing. These are the things that as we get help and things become more adhesivized in the whole. It's going to get a lot better, guys. So if you missed your name, by the way, and you haven't heard it, reach out to us, definitely, because there's a chance it was missed, or we can point you to what episode it was on. So
yes. Anyone that we have missed, you haven't heard, please contact us.
Yeah, especially if you've upgraded, those can get missed. If you were, just a free member or a basic tier expansion member and you upgraded to, say, a Dogman Whisperer, sometimes that doesn't register on the sheet. So definitely reach out if you haven't heard it yet.
On to the thank yous.
On to the other thank yous that we have been so ready to thank.
Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you to Where am I starting?
Mackerel Kid.
Mackerel Kid.
Yeah.
Swimming in the sea.
Fishing mackerel.
Mackerel Kid's the fish for me.
Yes, that makes me hungry for seafood. Thank you, Mackerel Kid. Welcome to be here.
Yes.
Bella is here and is a Dogman Whisperer. Hi, Bella.
That's the name of my computer.
Yes.
Are you my computer?
Yes.
Kisses, Bella.
Are you my computer?
Welcome in.
That is the name of your computer.
Also, we have Una Matsala.
Ooh.
Welcome in, you Dogman Whisperer, you.
Ooh, Una. That's a pretty name.
That's a great name. I think it might be a man. Una. It is. I think it's a Finnish name.
Oh, really?
Anyway, thank you for joining the hole. We love you.
Yes, thank you, Una. Whoever you are. Chrissy Morchilla or Morchia Heaven Ridge. Oh, that is an interesting name.
I love that. I want to live on Heaven's Ridge.
That's where I want to live when I die.
Sounds lovely.
What a view that would be.
Welcome to the hole.
Awesome.
You're beautiful too. Thank you.
Welcome to be here. Dana Delovich. Hi.
Ooh.
You freaking Dogman Whisperer. You. What is that? Polish? You a Polish Dogman Whisperer? I don't know names.
It's lovely. Whatever it is.
Delovich. Whatever it is, I like it. I like it a lot. A how to you. Sultry Cat Lady. Hi.
Oh, hello.
You, my friend.
Meow.
A
Meow.
sweet, sweet dog person. Thank you for being here. Being here for the year.
Yes.
You are a hero.
Kiss.
Oh, Claire Calderwood. This is a Skywheel. We missed it on the Skywheel shout-out section. What? Another freaking... Okay, we got to give her one right now. Pop it in, pop it out.
Pop the sky whale in.
Pop it out.
Skywhale rider. Skywhale rider.
Rain it from the sky.
Thank you so much, Claire.
Yes, Claire, sorry we missed you on the Skyward, but we are wishing you a special thank you right now. Thank you for being you.
Ride with light and love.
Claire Calderwood. Amen to you. Jessica McDaniel is a Dogman Whisperer.
All right. All right. Let's pet her. Give her some pats.
Pat her on the back. She's a Dogman Whisperer.
You beautiful, beautiful baby.
Katina Clarke. Welcome to be here.
Katina.
You sweet lady.
Welcome. We love you. Katina, that's a great name. I love it.
All right, coming down the pike, we've got Amanda Pike.
Yes.
Amanda Pike.
Dogman Whisperer.
She's taken a claim in the belief hole with her pike. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Amanda.
Ooh, Grizz. What's up, Grizz?
Ooh, Grizz is in the hole. Some Riz, as the kids say.
Sounds like a roughneck. Sounds like you'd want him on your space adventure.
That's true.
Awesome.
If you are mining or on a moon fighting aliens. Yes, Grizz. Welcome to be here. Olivia is a Dogman Whisperer. Nice.
Oh,
What a
Olivia.
sweethart.
I love that name.
You get a scratch behind the ear.
That's a pretty name.
Little Dogman scratch right there.
Olive.
If I had a daughter, I would name her after you.
Now that's a promise.
That's a belief hole promise.
We're going to hold you to that, John.
I do like that name.
That is
That's a
pretty.
good name.
Olivia John Jr. Sam Martinez. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to be a Dogman Whisperer, you
Sammy.
You furry friend. Absolutely. Doug Abel is another Dogman Whisperer. What?
Doug Abel is able to be in the hole.
That's right. You are able to be here because you paid for it, and we love you for that. Thank
That is
you.
why.
Zach Howard, what's up, man? Welcome to be in the hole.
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Zach. Yes.
Zach, thank you.
Amanda Sour, or Sour.
Ooh, sour.
She
She's
is not
sweet,
sour,
though.
she's sweet. That's right.
We are terrible. Like, remember when we used to be good at this?
Yes.
There was a time.
There is the time.
Oh, she's sweet.
Well, we've been out of practice. It's been a
No,
little
we
bit.
both said it. It wasn't like either one of us had a better thing to say.
Yeah, I thought it was
Anyways.
pretty good. I thought that was
All
not
right,
bad.
it is good.
It's low-hanging fruit, but it worked.
Miles Davis.
Hello.
Miles Davis is here. Play that
Is
trumpet.
Yes, that's a very famous jazz musician, if I remember.
Well, that Miles Davis is long dead, so it could be
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
could be a coincidence.
Maybe he came back because we do talk about, paranormal stuff.
He signed up as a spirit.
No, he could be a ghost.
It could be.
Special credit card power.
It could be Mel Gibson style cryogenic experiment from Forever Young. That's my guess. Playing the trumpet. Thank you, Miles Davis. You are awesome. Moondog Spot. What? Moondog Spot. That is an awesome name.
Oh, I like that. Moondog.
That sounds like the what I would name my dog if I lived on the moon. Moondog Spot.
Yes.
It also sounds kind of Native American in a cool way. Moondog Spot.
All right.
Anyway, sorry. That's a lot of time on you, but you have an awesome name, so thank you for your support. Michael Hassenkamp. Hi. That is an interesting name.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Michael. Another Michael.
Awesome.
Hey, we're starting to get into the Michael days here.
Hassenkamp.
Michael Tucker
Yes.
is a Dogman Whisperer.
Michael Tucker is in the hole.
Hi, my friend.
Good for you.
Good for you and good for us.
Good for us.
Tucked in the hole, tucked down in.
You get a Dogman scratch.
You get a Dogman scratch. You get a Dogman scratch.
I want a Dogman scratch. Chanel Burton, what's
Yes.
up?
Hey there, Chanel.
Yes, yes.
You are a special seashell.
Chanel is a special lady.
That's right. We're happy to have you, Chanel. Thanks for being here. Thanks
Why
for
do
the
you guys
support.
have names that don't rhyme with anything? I think that's the problem.
Chanel Burton.
Please have more rhyme-oriented names that would make our jobs a lot easier.
Close the curtain. It's Chanel Burton in the hole.
There you go.
Close the curtain at Chanel Burton. Onwards.
Amy St. Clair.
Yes,
Amy
yes.
Amy
St. Clair.
St. Clair is better than fair. She's extra special.
Right. Welcome to be here.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for being
Yes.
here.
I love that name.
Yes.
Thank you to be here. I got excited. I think
you to be here, John Crawford. Come on down.
I was excited because I thought it said Joan Crawford.
Hello.
No.
That'd be weird.
John Crawford.
But it's John Crawford, who I'm equally excited for because he's a
Yes.
Dogman Whisperer.
All right.
Oh, man, you're such a good friend.
Yeah.
Good boy.
No collar on this guy. Ashley Cole, what's up?
Ashley Cole is in the hole.
She is. That's an
an
easy
easy one.
rhyme.
She keeps it warm in this hole. That's
right.
Coal.
She's very deep within the hole.
Next on the list, we have this is someone living in the home of my favorite letter person, the M Cave.
So dumb.
What? M was my favorite letter person.
The person's name is M.
The
Cave.
letter M. M Cave.
Thank you, M. Cave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, M. Cave. Don't mind him.
That made a lot of sense in my head.
Man Cave.
Chad Jacobs, what's up, man? What's up, Dogman
All
Whisperer? Chad
right.
Jacobs.
You are loved.
Chad Jacobs. I had a friend named Chad.
That's true. Me too. Me too.
It's pretty common.
Yes.
What's it like having a name where you're described as like the ultimate man?
A Chad.
Well, it can go either way, I guess.
Yeah, it depends on your perspective. I know some good Chads.
I like Chads.
Yes!
I'm a Chad fan. There's also some good Karens out there. I'm just gonna say it.
There are good Karens.
That's not the same comparison, though.
No, but they're both like name means kind of person.
Is there a girl that's supposed to be like a Chad?
Becky?
Is it a Becky?
That sounds like it could be.
There's got to be a girl name for that.
I think it's Nikki. Nikki G is here.
Yes!
Nice, Jeremy.
Yes, I
Nikki
folded
G.
in. Nikki, you are awesome.
Represent.
Nikki G paid a fee to be with me.
Nikki G paid a fee
to be with me.
to be with me in the BELIEFHOLE. Nikki G, you are awesome.
John is a prostitute.
Pretty much.
No, I think it's a man of the night.
Man of the night. A streetwalker.
John is man of the night for Nikki G.
Welcome, Nikki. We love you.
Diana Miller, milling that love in the hole.
She's filling the filler. Diana Miller.
Filling the filler. That doesn't sound great.
Yes.
No, she fills it with love.
Thank you, Diana. We appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Lady Boca. Or
Baka.
Lady Baka.
Lady
Lady
Boca.
Baka. Lady Baka is a Dogman Whisperer.
Chewbacca? Lady Chewbacca.
Whisper to that Dogman lady. Whisper like you do.
Thank you, lady.
It does sound weird to say it like that. Thank you, lady. Thank you, ma'am.
I met a man named Sir, and he's the concierge at where I'm staying.
That's true.
That's great.
So it was very confusing at first.
What's your name again? Sir?
His name is Sir.
No, what's your name?
I
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about this on the show?
No.
No.
I told you.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move along.
Okay, sorry. Ken Molnar. What's up, man?
Ooh, Ken Molnar.
Welcome to Bees here.
The brother of Mulder. Ah, that's bad.
That is bad. Ken is a great name.
Yes.
Oh, a handsome devil. Another Dogman Whisperer in the hole, Paul Wozmansky.
Right.
Wozmansky. What's up, Wozmansky?
I love those ski names.
What?
It's very like Eastern European, like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
like
Okay.
Wadowski. You know, it's a very like 90s neighbor name, you know?
Wozmansky. Thank you, Paul. What is he, Dogman Whisperer?
He's a Dogman Whisperer.
What?
Paul's also a great name. I was going to name my kid Paul, actually.
Well, you gotta have one first.
But I'm not making promises like John. Kelsey Wetstein
Yes.
is here.
Yes! That is an awesome name.
Or
I thought-
Wetstein.
Wetstain?
No, not Wetstein.
Wetstein?
Wetstein. That is
Wetstein. I would say
Wetstein.
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 Kelsey
I think it's
Wetstein.
Wetstein. Okay,
Yeah,
either way,
Wetstein.
Either way, you are awesome, Kelsey.
Yes.
Thank you for your support and for being a sweetheart. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Clint DeVoe.
Yes.
Hello,
Ooh,
fanceman.
yes.
Are
Yes,
you
yes,
a
yes, yes.
detective in a noir LA film?
I like that. I like that.
Clint DeVoe. On the case.
Private Eye, Clint DeVoe.
Are you secret New Orleans vampire?
Or that.
Yes.
a little more bloodthirsty. But he is a Dogman Whisperer, so we should give him that. And on the heels of that Dogman Whisperer, we should give another howl.
Lady Baka was also a Dogman Whisperer.
Oh, did I not say that?
I think so. I think you've missed a lot of them, actually.
No, I did not. I'm doing very well.
For sure.
Amber Hall is another Dogman Whisperer. She's in the hall and in our hearts.
Let's hear a howl.
Joshua Martin. Hi.
Don't you get starting, Joshua Martin.
We're happy to have you.
That was really dumb.
I kind of liked it.
I'm just glad we didn't do another Martin Lawrence reference like we usually do with the name Martin that comes in.
There it goes.
Thank you for joining. We love you.
Oh my gosh, Zach Chittister is here.
We know a mill with that name.
Yeah, Chittister Mill is a famous haunted.
I used to take Jakey Boy walking there all the time.
Haunted Rogues Hollow, right next to Crybaby Bridge.
Yeah, synchronicity, close to our hearts. Welcome to be here, Zach.
Did you build that mill?
Anna Johnson. What is up, Anna?
Yeah.
I love that name.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
Top 3 girl names of all time.
It could be Anna, which is also extremely pretty. Portuguese, Anna Johnson. Welcome to be here, and thank you for being a Dogman Whisperer.
Yes.
Andrew Hearney, or Andrew Hearn, is here.
Have you hearing me, Andrew?
Have you hearing me? Can you hear me?
Have you hearing me? Okay.
That's weird. You say that very creepily.
Thank you to be here.
Paul Christian. It's Jeremy's son mixed with Christian's first name.
Wow. What are the odds?
Paul Christian.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for being here, Paul.
Welcome to the Hole. This is an interesting name. Zach Bajour.
Check Bjur.
Zach Bajour.
Is that French?
Interesting name.
Maybe it's Bjor.
It almost sounds like Nordic, Scandinavian.
Bjorn. It's close to Bjork. It's just a U and no K.
Like Bjorn.
Zach. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
Yes, you are appreciated. John Springer is in the hole. Thank you, John.
That's a fun name.
John.
That's good, John. You almost got it going.
John's learning his name today.
And last but not least, we have another Dogman Whisperer.
That's right. John, you want to read the name?
Sapphire
Hillary!
Oh, sorry out there.
I feel like we need a trumpet at the end of that.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sapphire Hillary.
Sapphire Hillary.
Dogman Whisperer.
You are last, but you are certainly not least.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you guys again so much. And by the way, I know there are a few names out there that we, looking at the list now, we have missed. So write in if you did not hear your name, and we will hit you up. And we're going to let everyone know what episode their name has been read on, so they can reference it in the future.
And I'm excited for these pins for higher tier members, like shout out people of interest in the Skyward Rider. This is going to be really cool.
Absolutely.
The designs are looking awesome.
Yeah, they actually do look pretty cool. And I'm not like I'm a pin. Like,
pin maker?
I love pins.
John lies. He's got pins all over his shirt.
I actually do. I actually like these pins enough that I would probably put it on my book bag, which is very strange for me because I don't like anything on anything.
This is true.
Most of the time. I'm a very minimalist type person.
He's usually naked.
He's naked right now.
I am, especially now that I'm living in Texas again, which we will talk more about at some point in the future.
That's right. Things are changing. Things are happening.
I'm no longer in the hole. I'm in a new hole.
You're in your own hole.
But we have fiber internet, so it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all.
When we're together, it's always the hole.
And we can see each other. That's all that matters.
That's right.
I'm touching you with my eyes, John.
Chris, you don't have to reassure them. The quality will not be affected.
Oh, that's why I'm reassured.
Now that I finally blackmailed our internet provider in our small town that had a monopoly, it's actually working really well. So I'm excited because it feels like doing this right now, even though the episode was recorded all together, but the thank yous we're doing this remotely. It's real quick. It feels very natural, and I'm not worried at all about lack of engagement because of any timing delays.
And this is even a harder thing to do than the
especially
regular
timing.
show. Yeah. So I don't think we're going to have any problem at all.
Yeah, dude, I'm super stoked.
Yep.
Lots of great things coming, guys. So again, thank you to be here. Thank you for being awesome.
And we're going to be able to probably do a lot more video now.
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited
Looking forward to that.
Taking the whole up a notch and providing more engaging, fun content.
I think that's it.
All right, guys, we love you.
All right.
We'll see you in the expansion if you're so lucky.
That's right. Thanks for being awesome. Stay healthy. And until next time, what do we say? What do we say?
Stay true to the hole.
We'll see you next time
on
BELIEFHOLE.
Get it?
Zagbees.
Zagbees?
I don't know. All right.
God, you're dumb.
Thanks.